Town Council action, the focus on this episode of Barnstable Today. I'm Sarah Colvin. A plan to hike some license fees in town sparked much debate at the start of last night's Town Council meeting. The plan outlined by Regulatory Services Director Tom Geiler called for an increase in several license fees like motels, auto dealers, karaoke, and other forms of entertainment. Some councilors like Jen Cullum, who's also a small business owner, did raise some concerns.
Being a small business owner myself, I mean, to hear somebody say, like, it just comes out of the daily receipts of the day absolutely slays me. I make a quarter on a bag of chips at my store, and I think we all forget that it really boils down to a quarter on the dollar. And I feel like people are barely making it now, and an extra fee, it's to say that it's just part of the day's receipts. I mean, it's a lot of money. It takes a lot. For me to make $100 is 20 roast beef sandwiches I have to sell that I'd give to the town for the right to sing, which I wouldn't anyway. I wouldn't put you through it. But I just ask you to consider that, fellow councilors, when you pass it, because I feel like when I add an extra dollar to a sandwich, it's because there's an extra value involved or whatever, and I just consider that, because the whole world boils down to a quarter on the dollar, and I guarantee if you figure out how much you're paid per minute, you're going to be insulted. And so taking an extra $100 out of Embargo or out of Columbo's or out of any of these places doesn't seem like a lot when you're up here on the dais, but when you're living it and you're gutting it out in January, believe me, it really matters. Thank you.
We see the business operators every day. We know how much that they're hurting. We do everything we can to try to change the process to the extent that the regulations allow us to do that. The council many years ago set up a policy of full cost recovery for elective types of services. Those types of services that everybody do not have to buy. We can reduce the fees even more, but we can't eliminate the costs. So all we're doing at that point is pushing those fees onto the little old lady in Katuitt or wherever on her real estate taxes. What we try to do, and I'm not disagreeing with you, is to provide a level of value with what we're doing. If you look at our fees over the last 20 years, and the staffing is less. We're using more and more automation, more and more efficient methods to be able to get some of the work done, and have kept those fees from escalating. They're certainly not double what they would have been from just a normal inflation.
Councilors voted 9-3 in favor of those fee changes. The group then moved on to a lengthy debate regarding a change or clarification in town council meetings. The proposal would bring the meeting schedule in line with the way it's outlined in the town's charter, with one regular meeting scheduled per month and the second to be held as a workshop or special meeting. Many members of the public and councilors discussed that change. Concerns over public comment and its possible elimination at one meeting sparked the most debate. Councilor Janet Jochum explains that change.
The problem we have is that the language in our code is different than what's in the charter. We are not eliminating public comment, and I just, as a side note, want to make sure that everybody understands that we're one of the few bodies, legislative bodies in the area that actually has public comment that's not restricted to this subject matter that we're voting on. But that said, we are not eliminating public comment. What we're doing is we are saying that we need to have one regular meeting a month, as it says in the charter, and that the second meeting, there's an option for us to do things like what we need to do with this group, have workshops. And when we have a workshop, we invite people to come here, often staff, people who serve on our boards and committees, and they won't have to wait as we go through not just public comment, response to public comment, reports from elected officials, the town manager report, and I'm not even sure if we do minutes during all of that. We get right to the business at hand. And if there is an issue that has a public hearing that somehow we deal with during a workshop, then the public is invited to speak during the public hearing. If there's an issue that doesn't have a public hearing, but it's something that we might be voting on, like tonight we were talking about the spraying, that does not have a public hearing. Generally, those comments are made, the president will allow those comments to be made whether or not there's a scheduled public hearing, so that we're always inviting the public to speak to the issues that we're voting on. All this does is offer the option. We used to do a regular meeting and occasionally have one meeting a month that would be a workshop, and we were not aware, when I was president, and I believe even when Mr. Farnham was president, that the code told us that we had to hold it as a regular meeting. So this will give us the option to go back to that.
Councilor James Cote originally asked for the item to be postponed until the January 19th meeting.
One thing I'd like to bring up is it seems like there's a lot of ideas going around here. We might want to table this issue and reconsider it and see if there's some alternatives we can come up with that really seem to be a compromise between public comment and what we're trying to get to.
However, after further discussion, councilors decided to vote on the item, then allowing it for it to come up again should they decide against it, which is what ultimately happened with an 8-4 vote. Also on last night's agenda were a pair of grants for the police department. Here, Police Chief Paul McDonald explains how those funds will be used.
Lynch, the police department has been awarded a grant in the amount of $4,950 to participate in the current program of driving sober, aggressive driving enforcement, and click it or ticket. The acceptance of this grant will assist the department in the continuance of these important traffic systems, and this grant will supplement the currently allocated funds. There is a required match that will be satisfied using currently allocated department resources in-kind matches, which means we will use our marked cruisers during the enforcement, which covers our match. The department has been awarded a grant in the amount of $111,722 relative to our role as a primary public safety answering point, a PSAP, to fund the training and certification of enhanced 911 telecommunicators, including emergency medical dispatch programs and the quality assurance of emergency medical dispatch program that goes with this. As of July 1st, 2012, as required by law, the Barnstable Police Department must have a certified emergency medical dispatch program in place. This grant will fund the EMD training of 60 telecommunicators, meaning 60 police officers, at the Barnstable Police Department. In fiscal year 13, we'll reapply for the same grant to fund the remaining members of the police department. Acceptance of this grant will enable the department to fulfill the training obligations as a primary PSAP as required by laws that will become effective this July 1st.
A $545,000 funding request for a new emergency generator at Barnstable Municipal Airport was referred to a public hearing. That hearing will be held January 19th. They also approved a meeting schedule for the coming year. It'll continue just as last year with meetings on the first and third Thursday of each month, except for July and August, when only one will take place. The council also approved a non-binding resolution continuing NSTAR's no-spray, pesticide-free policy of vegetation in Barnstable and on Cape Cod, offered by Councilors Daly, Dagwan, and Barton. This measure passed unanimously. This November is a big election, and in order to participate, you must be on the voter list. If you want to remain on the active voter list, be sure to complete and return your town census form to the town clerk's office, even if you do not have any changes. In addition to the November election, the presidential primary will take place on March 6th, 2012. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.